Hey everyone, welcome to the Pawareness podcast, and thanks for joining me. This podcast is specifically for about educating and raising awareness for animals and rescues and organizations across the United States and world. It really goes a long way towards this mission when our listeners rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and all of our other podcast platforms. Also, be sure to check us out on our official website at pawareness.org and on social media at TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Pawareness_podcast. You can check us out for all of our latest bits and clips of our podcast, as well as Pet of the Week and Pet of the Month. If you're listening and involved with an animal rescue organization or have a story of your own that you want to share, reach out to us at info@pawareness.org and we can get you on the podcast. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Pawareness podcast. Today, I am speaking with Sonia Leahey, founder of Sunset Park Cats. And I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, the organization, and what it is that you guys specialize in.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Sonia. So I run Sunset Park Cats, which is in Sunset Park, which is a neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. So we really focus on TNR. So we really got started because we wanted to do TNR to reduce the cat population on the streets, and that's what we still focus on to this day. Although always, we end up doing adoptions and fostering sometimes. That always ends up being part of it, but we don't seek that out. We seek out to do as much TNR as we can to really stop the cycle of, producing more cats that need to be rescued.
I can hear some cats in the background. Where are you located exactly, and what's the situation of TNR that you guys are seeing where you're particularly at?
Yeah. By the way, who you're hearing is one of my fosters, Oscar. He's just very talkative. We think he's part Bengal. He just meows a lot. He loves to meow. But I was hoping he wouldn't be too loud. Well, we really focus on the neighborhood of Sunset Park, Brooklyn, which is in South Brooklyn. And we purposely focus on that neighborhood because we feel that it's very important to be local. That's really how it's most effective. There are some large rescues that they run all over the city, they just kind of go anywhere. But and that's, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but we strongly feel that having a laser focus on your neighborhood and one geographic area just really makes you most efficient and effective, because you get to know the neighborhood, you get to know the people, you grow contacts and relationships with people, which then can help you be more effective in the future. But you're not traveling for hours. You're not running around and spreading yourself so thin. So we really do just this, neighborhood, Sunset Park, and then a little bit the bordering neighborhood of Bay Ridge, which we're in as well. But and we really focus on TNR as much as we can. So we take on TNR projects, and then as a byproduct, adoption and finding kittens does happen sometimes. And we do some fostering and some adoptions, but not a ton. We do more TNR than fostering and adoptions.
And I think that's a really interesting approach that you guys have of going, just focusing on one specific neighborhood. And what does that look like when do individuals call you guys up, or businesses? And what does that look like? Are they trapping for you? Do you guys have traps, or do you send a team out? What does that look like?
First and foremost, let me say that we're a very, very small operation. So it really is two of us, actually. My partner and myself are Sunset Park Cats. And we do work with a very select small number of really awesome volunteers as well that usually help us with the trapping part of it. But we get primarily our presence is through Instagram, and that's where we really post everything we do and most of our stuff. So we get a lot of DMs and messages from the community on a regular basis, where people will message us and they'll say that, I have a cat had kittens in my backyard, or I have kittens in my backyard, or there's an injured cat on so-and-so street, or there's a colony that needs to be TNR. We get a lot of messages. We do as much as we can, but the thing is that I really wanted to talk about as well, there's no way that we can just canvas the entire neighborhood and just be cover the whole neighborhood. So we are limited in how much we can do, which is why we really do try to encourage people to get hands-on with it, to try to learn to do what we do and at least if they have cats and kittens in their own backyards, at least try to take a little initiative and help with it. Because unfortunately, there's just no way we can respond to every request. Or, I mean, I try to respond at least, but there's no way we can fulfill every request and follow up on every request. So I find myself having to turn down a lot of the requests that we get because it's physically impossible to do it all. So I respond to people very often, strongly encouraging them and urging them to take the TNR class, which I don't know if everyone even knows what the TNR class is, but that's an important thing. Here in New York City, some large organizations like Neighborhood Cats and Flatbush Cats, which are some very large, well-respected organizations, they present this TNR workshop, which it used to be in person before COVID. It used to be able to go down to different locations and sit in on a class. Now, ever since COVID, it's just an online webinar. So it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And it's a training. It shows you how to trap, how to recover a cat safely in a cage and hold them, and for the recovery period, and what to do if you find cats, and a lot of different things. It teaches you how to kind of go about this. That's how we got started. That's what we did. And that's actually the only thing really that separates us from everyone else, is that we took that class. You know, it's one of the organizations puts it on for free. The other one is $10. That's it. So you don't have to leave your couch. You just take it. So the messages and the requests that we get that we're not able to do, because we're not a large organization. We can't do it all. So we respond to people and ask them we send them the link, encourage them to take the class. And then if they do, we would be happy to support them, meet up with them, and kind of mentor them through their first trapping, because it still is, a lot of people don't know where to start. Even if they take the class, it still is very kind of overwhelming sometimes. You still feel like unsure of yourself. So yeah, we very much need more people to do that, because there's no way that a tiny independent rescue can cover one neighborhood. I mean, even though we focus on just one neighborhood, still there's no way we can take all the requests that we get in that neighborhood. So it's the disconnect between how much an independent rescue can do and the needs of the community is vast. It's huge. So that's just, unfortunately, that's the reality.
I think that's awesome that you guys took that initiative. And I think that's a common theme where it's just normal people, small organizations doing all they can. It's almost like you guys hit the streets like superheroes or something, just out here, just like fighting cat overpopulation. And what's that look like for someone who, I know that you mentioned, taking a TNR class. What are some common, like, how much do you need to really get started up, right? Like how many, I'm assuming you probably need some kind of like cat trapping cages or like something like that. What's the startup material like on your end?
Yeah. I advise people when they are getting started doing this, that just don't take on too much at once. Try your hand at trapping one cat, just TNR one cat. Don't try to, like, if you have a colony of 10 cats, don't think, okay, I'm going to get 10 traps, and that's not a good idea. Just start with one. So you need a trap, and not all traps are created equal. The best brand of trap is Tomahawk, which, the quality really makes a difference. So investing in a trap is really helpful. If there are people that don't buy a trap and then they have to go borrow one from a trap bank, which is another added level of inconvenience, but that's an option as well. So you need a trap, and then you need a place to keep a cat once you trap it. So a bathroom can work, or if someone has like a basement space, or some place away from your other pets. If you have other pets, like if you have a cat in your house, you don't want to keep it in the same room as your cat, but that's really the only thing. So that's it. And then, everything else is just stuff you have already lying around. Like you have to cover the trap with a sheet once the cat's in it, just because that's a trick to keep them calm in the cage. Newspaper for the bottom. There's nothing special. And of course, transportation. You need either to have a car or someone to give you a ride, like from where you trapped the cat, to bring it home to the holding space and then to the clinic to get speed. And that, that's often a challenge. Not everyone in New York City drives or has a car. And it's a little bit tricky to bring a cat in a trap, like in a Uber or Lyft. I did do that one time, but it's like kind of awkward. Like one time I had a big tomcat and he smelled really strong, like urine. but I had to bring him in an Uber, and I was like scared the driver would get mad, but they were okay about it. But yeah, those are the biggest challenges, having the transportation and having a space to put the cat, because most people say, oh, I can't bring it home, I have no space for it. So but yeah, that's it.
That's kind of what I was wondering. It's like, what if you find like a mini colony or something, right? And let's say it's 5 cats. Well, what happens? Where do you get the cat? You get the cat spayed and neutered, but where do you take it? If not everyone has space for 5 cats. So is that like part of your due diligence then, I guess, is just making sure that you're taking on projects that you have space for? Is that how that works?
Yeah, well, anyone taking on a TNR project, the planning is extremely important. You never want to just trap without having a plan, without knowing what you're going to do with the cat, because that puts the cat's safety in jeopardy, really. You have to make sure you know what you're going to do. You have to have a holding space of some kind. So if it's just a tiny bathroom in a New York City apartment, that probably can only hold 2 cats maximum, not 5. So if you are trapping 5 at once, which a new trapper probably shouldn't be attempting that, someone that their first time out. But if you do have 5 traps, you're going to need at least a good, a room, a basement, something, so you have to make sure you know where that space is for them. They can't be all on top of each other. They have to be a good 2 feet apart. 3 feet is really better. Just because there's a lot of things you have to do to prevent the spread of diseases and things. So yeah, planning, like anything you're going to do in life, you have to plan, you have to think it through first, make sure you know how you're going to do it, plan it, make sure you're prepared. Preparation is key. And then you move forward. But I always, like I said, someone that's kind of new to this should just start by TNRing 1 cat and just see, because they'll run into things they're unsure about or challenges. And it's like your practice run, so you don't want to take on too much when you haven't done it.
I think that's really important. Like you said, know your limits and just, don't get yourself into something you can't handle. And I'm really curious too, what's one memorable experience you've had since you've undertaken this project in this organization, right? Like, what's one thing that really jumps out to you that is kind of that makes it all worth it?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you about what's been known as the main colony now. So the way that we started doing this, really, like the way we officially started the rescue, is that we found a colony, a large colony in the neighborhood. It was literally like 30 cats, just all unfixed. A good rescuer friend of ours found it and then showed it to us, and they were not even being fed very well, so they were all kind of starving and skinny and just struggling to survive. And there was kittens there because none of them were fixed. So we found it, and then we just started trapping there. So we would do like 2 or 3 cats at a time. We don't do a mass trapping. It's just very difficult and stressful and too crazy. So we don't ever do like, we're going to get 20 cats in one day. We would start doing like 2, 3 at a time, trap them, get them fixed, return them. And we just kept like working at it and chipping away at it and going there all the time. And took about a year to transform that colony, literally maybe more than a year. So today they're all fixed. I still go there every day to feed them. And I'm 7 days a week. I go there to feed them, and I see them every day. And like now it's completely a transformed situation. So instead of struggling to survive and just like frantically, competing with each other for food and all the stresses that come along with like mating and the reproduction and the fighting of unfixed cats, now they're relaxed, they're fat and well fed. They just, when they're neutered, they don't fight anymore. So all that crazy like screaming and yowling, that kind of goes away. And they're not as afraid of me. I mean, when someone feeds them every day, they get to know that person. They're not as afraid of them anymore. And I think they kind of know that they're being taken care of now. And there's just a relaxed vibe to it. And there's no kittens. That's, in the beginning we'd see kittens there. There hasn't been a kitten there in like a year. So the population is stabilized. And I think all the people that live there notice it. The super of the apartment building, he gave me a key because he noticed I was coming there every day, and I'm like the caretaker. And yeah, I wish we could do that for every single colony in Sunset Park. I mean, we do it definitely that's not the only place we've done. We go around many other places too, and we've done some other spots. But yeah, that's the goal. That's what you want to see, is just take a colony, really dedicate yourself to it. And then it takes maintenance. Every once in a while, a new cat may show up. You have to then, okay, we have to get that one. Every once in a while, a cat may turn up injured or sick or something, and you got to maintain it. So that's kind of
and that's kind of what I was wondering too, is what are some common problems that you face as trapping cats on a daily basis? You mentioned, maybe some injured cats. What's something that someone starting may see?
Common problems on the street are, one of the biggest challenges, trapping does not always go smoothly. Trapping is really tough work, and it's just, sometimes it's really frustrating, and sometimes it's not like you put the trap out and the cat goes in it. Like sometimes it's easy, and then a lot of the times you're sitting out there for 3 hours. The cats are just not cooperating, and you're just like, it takes hours of just exhausting, just waiting and going. There's been times I had to go back like 3-4 days in a row, just like constantly, like just, toiling and working so hard at trying to get these cats. And then finally, maybe the 3rd or 4th day you get them. So it's draining. It's a lot of work to, like, you have to try different strategies. There's different kinds of traps. If they don't go in one trap, you take the other one, and it's really exhausting and not so easy, which is why we've enlisted the help of a couple of really awesome volunteers that sometimes trap for us, because that helps us a lot. Then we can take the cat and worry about the rest.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. And how do you get those volunteers? What does that look like? Is it mainly Instagram? That I know you guys are really active on there.
Yeah, Instagram is our main platform. Yeah, actually, well, number one, we don't bring a lot of people into our organization. We keep it small, because that's just a lot easier to prevent problems or just really know who you're working with. So we work, besides the 2 of us, which is really who, the group is, we've worked with just a couple of other people that we know really well. So yeah, maybe someday we'll expand larger, but I think it's pretty much through Instagram that we had met them. And then we figured out that we were on the same page about everything. So
I think that's cool. Yeah. Like, keep your numbers tight, and, just maybe keep you more mobile, more have the trust there. So I think that's amazing. And I know that you guys have been around a couple of years now. What are some things that you see? I know you mentioned, completely fixing some colonies. What are some goals that you see coming up in the next year, 2 years? Where do you see that? Where do you see your organization going?
We'd love to do more TNR to expand. There's a real problem in New York City, and I know this is not the only city that has this problem, but just we are kind of roadblocked because there's a dire shortage of available spay-neuter services for rescuers, either free or low cost. It's just the situation as it is now. All the rescues are kind of just competing to just struggle to get these spay-neuter appointments. And the main organization that offers it is ASPCA. They have a few clinics. There's one in Queens, there's one in the Bronx, and there's one in a remote part of Brooklyn. And every month they'll open up the appointments. It's like when, concert tickets go on sale, and then literally like 30 seconds, they're gone. And it's like there's like 3,000 rescuers that they've said that are like, active accounts in the system to get them. I don't know exactly how many appointments get released. Seems like it's like 50. Because, you go on there at the time they say, and then you see them pop up, you try to click on it, and many people, by the time they try to click on it and it goes to the next screen, oh, sorry, it's gone, and they get nothing. So we're like fighting over each other, trying to get these scarce appointments, and it's horrible. So, and that's not the only place that offers it, but that's actually the main place that offers it in New York City for rescuers is ASPCA. Throughout the month, sometimes people will cancel an appointment if they tried to trap a cat and the cat didn't go in the trap, so they'll cancel it. So once in a blue moon, like, a cancellation will pop up, and it's like gambling. You go on there, you try to get it, you try to see if something will pop up, you grab it. So that's the struggle that all the rescuers are going through right now. It's just scrounging for appointments. If there was just a clinic in every neighborhood, it's amazing how much TNR us and many other people would be able to do. And then there's a few other services that offer it besides ASPCA, but that's even, very small and even less appointments than them. It's not easy to get appointments at all. So that's, if I just, I think about how great it would be if there was more clinics, but I don't even see that changing anytime really soon. It's very, very sad. It's really terrible. So we need more spay neuter, and then there would be less kittens being born on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. It sounds like, especially in your area, there's this shortage, and there's just an influx of cats that need spayed and neutered. So I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and you're on the ground floor and just taking action. So and what advice would you have for someone who's passionate about the cause and just really wants to get started? What maybe one piece of advice would you give them, or maybe your past self, if you could go back in time?
Yeah, I'd say just TNR one cat. Just start small. It's very important to have boundaries in this thing. One of the biggest things rescue has taught me, it's not even something about cats. It's just about having boundaries and knowing that you cannot do everything. If you try to do everything and you feel like, oh, I have to help every cat that I find out about, you're going to end up burning yourself out and then not being able to help any cats eventually. So you have to look at what you can do and then kind of tune the rest out. You just have to. So someone that really hasn't been doing this but is passionate about cats, just try, take the TNR class, and then TNR one cat. Just try your hand at trapping one cat. Just do it from start to finish. See how it is, and always network with other rescuers. Now with social media, that's very easy to do. So a huge part of what keeps me going and gives me information and, things to stay in the loop is networking with the other rescues. But you can get advice from them about your questions, but try to TNR one cat, because if you spay or neuter one feral cat, a totally feral cat, not a cat that you're going to keep, that prevents hundreds of kittens. And that's extremely important to stop the cycle. We can't just take kittens in and just foster kittens. It's great to save kittens' lives, absolutely. But if we're not doing TNR and spaying and neutering adults, it's not stopping the future generations of them at all. So we have to think forward to the future.
I think that's such great advice, and I think it's probably easier said than done in terms of setting those boundaries and just making sure that you're not burning yourself out. I mean, we always hear it all the time, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint, but at the same time, it's like that's easier said than done, especially probably. I mean, you said earlier right at the beginning that you had to there's people you turn down. Like, I'm sure that probably doesn't feel good. But it's just, you can't take on every project. So
yeah, I've learned from mistakes, it's taken 2 years to get to this point where now I'm really good at saying no, because you make so many mistakes and you get burned, and like you say yes, and then you end up like realizing, oh, I shouldn't have said yes, because we can't do it. We're like going crazy. We're like driving ourselves to the point of a breakdown, so then you end up like not following through on what you said. And I understand it's really difficult for a lot of people, but I've really come to this point where very often I just say, sorry, we can't come. We just can't. It's not happening. So please take the TNR class, learn how to trap, especially if it's in your own backyard. I mean, I wish all I had to do was just TNR cats in my own backyard and not run around town, So that's what we'd love to see, is people do that. But going back to what I said before, we get frustrated when people don't do enough like that, but then it's kind of hard to be frustrated with them, considering that even just us rescuers already are fighting for appointments, spay neuter appointments. So if something is not readily available and accessible, not a lot of people are going to do it. That's just kind of like supply and demand. That's just, of course, not a lot of people are going to go through that struggle if it's not even, they have to travel. We also, my rescue partner, he has to travel, he has to drive a lot and waste a lot of gas and hours driving just to get to the clinics. They're not even in our area. He drives all the way out to Queens. We actually drove 3 cats all the way out to Long Island 2 days ago for spay neuter. We tried out this new clinic. So it was like almost an hour each way. It's not even, there's no clinic in Sunset Park. There's not even a vet in Sunset Park. So they don't provide enough services. So that's, the average person is not going to inconvenience themselves and drive to another borough,
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. It's really does sound like there needs to be more clinics, more individuals, and taking this on themselves. I love the startup attitude. I love that.
Yeah.
And where can people follow you guys at, reach out, kind of see what you guys are doing, maybe, see what you guys, some of your successes, and then they can duplicate that themselves. Where can they find you at?
Yeah, the main place you can see everything we're doing is on Instagram. So it's just Sunset Park Cats on Instagram. We're on Facebook as well, but we post on the Instagram more than the Facebook.
Awesome. And the link to that will be in the description below. Everyone check them out. Sonia, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to hear, just so motivating getting to hear what you guys are doing over there. So love the passion, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to talk to you.
Awesome. You too. All right. Thanks.